Welcome to Sister Scoot, where we are talking about the main three Marvel news topics of the week. And we're going to get right into one that, I won't lie, shocked the crap out of me after past things that this actor has said. Boyega. Why am I blanking on his first name?
John.
I was going to say Josh. That's why I didn't want to say it.
You were close.
I was like, if I say his last name, we'll all know what I'm talking about. I really was scared to say Josh because it didn't feel right. John Boyega is showing interest in the role of Bishop, if you don't know, from the X-Men, which I wasn't prepared to see this news. Let's say that.
Yeah, I love it. I love John Boyega. I thought he was great in Star Wars. But I'm pretty sure we've talked on past Sister Scoops about how he said he never wants to be in a large franchise again because of the horrible experience he had at Lucasfilm. And I don't know that it was necessarily the studio as much as like Star Wars fans are notoriously difficult is maybe the nicest way to put it.
Are Marvel fans much better anymore?
Star Wars fans are regularly accused of being racist, so I feel like it's a little different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like there's a difference between like difficult and like, you know, limiting in beliefs. So he was unfortunately a victim of that during his time as Finn. And so and I think if I'm remembering correctly, he didn't feel super supported by the studio. So there were definitely some really challenging feelings there, and it kind of turned him off from larger franchises. Now, let's also not forget, Lucasfilm is also owned by Disney. So we're talking same parent company. Obviously, we know that, you know, Kevin has a very different vibe going on than the folks over at Lucasfilm. But it is shocking. I will say, I love that he's open to it. I love him for Bishop. I think Bishop is such a great character and so interesting. So yeah, I would be really, really into that. And I do hope it happens. The other thing to caveat here is someone like called that out at a panel, like, hey, what about Bishop? And he said, yeah, that'd be cool. So he's confirmed that he's had conversations with the studio in the past, with Kevin in the past, but he never said like, oh yeah, it was with Bishop. That was just his reaction to someone saying, would you want to be Bishop? So that's a definitely looser thing, but I think it's a brilliant idea. To whoever shouted it out at that panel, go you.
Yeah, I think like my obvious reason for being shocked was because I didn't know the nitty-gritty of the situation because I'm not on the Star Wars side. I did know that he was pretty adamant about never wanting to work, really, it seemed like, with Disney as a whole, really ever again. Understandably, that if that's the situation, very understandable. That being said, I know we talked about him recasted for Kang. That's what it was about. And I actually think we talked about it because I think he discussed the possibility of replacing Jonathan Majors because I think he was a big name. Him and I'm blanking on the other one, but there were two.
He just voiced Norman Osborn, and I am blanking. Yes, but I know who you mean.
Yeah, there were two very prominent actors that I feel like everybody. Yes,
Coleman Domingo. There we go.
I knew it would come. Yeah, I could have gotten the last name maybe, but I was like, I'm blanking right now. I feel like they both were really big fan casts of people being like, they'd be great to replace him. And I'm pretty sure he had responded. He was like, yeah, no interest here.
Yeah.
And I mean, with his past feelings, I think everybody wrapped that into not wanting to work with Marvel or like Disney as a whole. Maybe that was just, he didn't want to have to take that role on and whatever that looks like, obviously, after Jonathan Majors and being recast and everything. But as far as Bishop, I'm sure he'd do a great job. I've only seen Rogue One, so don't really remember much about it. But also,
he wasn't even in Rogue One.
There you go. Then I really have not watched almost anything he's been in. So I don't know him as an actor. I'm sure he's great, but I would like to see him bulk up if he's going to play Bishop. Bishop is a very big character.
Huge.
I would like to see that represented, so I would need to see some bulk happen. But otherwise, if he's in for it, I'm in for it. He seems to be a great actor. Let's just say that. I don't know, but
I liked him in Star Wars, and it's sad that he had a bad experience. So I definitely think he could fit well in the MCU, and I think he could carry Bishop. He's kind of like, if I'm remembering correctly, because it's been a hot minute since I watched the animated show and X-Men 97, we miss you. But Bishop's both kind of funny and kind of intense, and I think John could do kind of both of those sides of the character.
Works for me. I also just want to say live action Bishop. But
yeah.
Moving on. Our bestie Mackie is talking about Doomsday and is talking about we're going back to what we're used to for the Avengers.
Yeah, he dropped kind of 2 dimes on this one. First was, we're going to bring you back the old Marvel feeling, which we all have talked at length about how that's been missing. So I'm not going to harp on that piece. But he has also dropped the little hint. It's not even a hint. It's very, blatant. He's heading to set this week. So we know that there are some actors who are already there. We've seen James Marsden talking to Benedict Wong, and so we know that there are some folks already there, but Mackie is about to join the fray this week. So very, very exciting. I think that's probably look, I'm pumped that they're going to potentially bring back the level of excitement we all got, but knowing that he's heading down, I think is even the bigger piece of news.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all already knew this was coming. Like, we all knew we were going into production. We were going to start seeing things. It's going to be interesting what we do see and what they purposely make sure the audience doesn't see. Because I also think Marvel's pretty good at faking it till you make it. So we're all like, oh my God, these 2 people were talking, and then we never see them.
Yeah,
like
literally.
This never happens.
Here's a fake script.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm pretty excited just in general knowing this is underway, but also like there's not a lot of time to film this. Ironically, like I'm in a really weird spot about this. So I'm excited nervously.
Yeah, May, it's May, right? May, like early May. It's the early May slot next year. So it's a little more than a year and they just started filming. I don't know. That does make me
your arguably biggest movie like ever. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the FX, like that's the part where I'm like, how long are you gonna have on post? Like I don't whatever. They get paid to deal with that problem, and I just get paid. I don't get paid. I just enjoy watching.
I was like, we do this for free.
I pay to watch the movies. In fact, it's the opposite. I don't get paid. I give the money. So
I know. Not only do I give the money, I give the money to eat. So that I'm also probably solidly like losing about $40 every time I go to the theaters for these. But
honestly, perks of being like mildly allergic to popcorn is I never really eat. I just stop at the grocery store and get M&Ms.
That's not even fun.
I get candy at the grocery store next door. It could be worse.
Anyway, on that disappointing and sad topic,
I can't help it.
Speaking of Marvel and keeping secrets, they have some interesting tactics, as we've seen over the years. And seems like Simu Liu is coming forward with some of them.
Yeah. And he doesn't seem thrilled. And to paraphrase our good friend Simu, he basically was like, yeah, so Tom Holland and Mark Ruffalo ruined it for the rest of us. And now nobody actually knows what's going on in any of these films because they don't want any spoilers by the cast.
Yeah.
So 2 guys, our spoiler kings, made it so that poor Simu, who just happened to join the MCU significantly later than the other 2, doesn't even know what's going on in his own movies. I understand. I mean, of course, it was joking, but I understand the frustration, my guy. I understand why you would want to know what you were going into. I also think it's interesting if you think about him as like the lead of his own film. Obviously, he got to like probably know a little bit more. He was the title character. Now he's part of an ensemble. So to go from like the head guy who has his name, who probably gets that information, to I'm just one of many names who probably gets a third of the script that's redacted and maybe fake. And that's not exactly what he said was happening, but he just doesn't know what's going on. So yeah, I can understand a little bit of like, okay, what is this? What are these new protocols?
Well, I mean, even think about Infinity War and Endgame. Like, think about how that was. Half of them thought they were sitting there at a wedding.
Wild.
They were at a funeral. Like,
wild.
I just think it's stuff like that that's just so insane. Or like, because they filmed so much of it together, they didn't know what they were actually walking into in Endgame, or I'm sorry, in Infinity War. They didn't know what they were about to go watch because they know they filmed so much, but it's like, I don't actually know what goes where and how this is getting cut together and what the story is fully going to look like. So like, it is definitely kind of crazy. I couldn't imagine being an actor trying to tell a story like that. And also, especially if, I actually would think it's harder for some of the newer characters if you haven't made a second appearance yet. Like, you're still finding your character and you're still finding your fans. And so, like, to sit there and try and being your character, having made maybe one other appearance in the MCU, but also you have no clue what's going on or how your character is technically going to, like, what their arc is going to be in this movie. That's crazy.
Yeah. The wedding thing gets me every time because I don't know about you all, but I have a very different face at a wedding than I do at a funeral. So just wild.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's been this week's Sister Scoop. Join us next week as we tackle 3 more Marvel topics as they come at us. And we are actually wrapping up Daredevil Born Again, believe it or not, but we're moving right into Thunderbolts on the podcast side. So make sure you're still sticking with us there as we move into movie number 2 of the year. I forgot they were all at the beginning of the year. Movie number 2 of the year. And we're super excited. But until then, we'll see you guys next week. Bye.